Devil May Cry Season 2 came out earlier today, and I just finished watching it like a few minutes ago, and like, damn, I really want to talk about it. It's good. Of course, I don't want to spoil anything. If you're interested and you care about spoilers, you really should watch it in general. But I want to go over just like my general experience when I was watching the show, and a few immediate quick thoughts. First off, the writing in Season 2 is, in my opinion, it feels much stronger and more focused than Season 1, which is a great thing. Season 1, of course, had like Dante and Lady, and they were great characters then, but oftentimes they felt like they could be suffocated by the plot, or sometimes the story would like divert and like detour for a long time for like exposition, and that felt really boring. Season 2 is much better at using, the characters, the story, and the action in harmony with each other to create something much better. That's not to say that the show is always moving at 100 miles per hour and there's always like action and fighting going on. In fact, one of my favorite parts of the season was one of the slower moments where there was no action or story going on. It was just the characters being themselves. Which is something that I said in like my season 1 reviews, is that you need like moments to slow down and all that, but the way they were doing it in season 1 just lost my interest when it was happening. And so the overall feel of like the show's pacing this season is much stronger overall. It doesn't have that kind of like stop and go feeling that season 1 had, where a really cool moment happens and then like two very boring things happen. I think the biggest reason for that is because this season is almost like laser focused on Lady, Dante, and Virgil. A lot of the like political thriller parts of season 1 are much more downplayed in season 2. That's not to say that those parts aren't still here, but instead of being focused on like the organization overall, it's more focused on specific individuals in their organization and really characterizing how they feel about everything that's going on. The fact they are in the same organization is only a means to bring these people with conflicting ideologies together, which I think is a much better use of it than it was in season 1. Like, instead of like an order happening and we see like some random mooks feeling on it, we focus on how Lady feels about it specifically, or Dante, or someone else. And of course, it goes to say that, the animation and production side of this is still stellar. The characters look great, they move really well, and like, there were many times where I was thinking, that's a great expression on that character. They drew that super well. Not only in terms of like quality, but also of conveying what that character's emotion really was. I don't know if the company handling the animation, Studio Mir, just is like more comfortable with the show now, or if they were given more resources to deliver on season 2. But season 1 had like many of like great moments of animation, and some ones where like things felt a little more stiff, a little more like they had to move quickly through it, and that's largely gone from season 2. Season 2's got so many great scenes of animation repeated like constantly. And that's great, because I was a little worried when I first saw like Dante's design for season 2 a little bit. I wasn't like the biggest fan of how his design was handled this season initially, like through all like the promo materials, but I think it looks much better in motion, which in my opinion is what you should be judging this based off of, because it is an animation. In motion, Dante looks great and all that. Virgil looks great too. Just everything looks fantastic in this series generally. I also want to give a shout out to the most present villain in season 2, Arius. He's from Devil May Cry 2. He was basically a nothing character there, and they turned him into a really interesting character in season 2. It was a delight always to have him on screen. He's a villain that's both like terrible and charismatic, and so I had a little bit of a soft spot for him in this season. There were like a lot of scenes where I saw Arius and I was like, I am so glad they took him in this direction. Next part of the review is going to be for people who have played the games and are familiar with the game story. No spoilers again for this, so don't worry if you've not seen the anime or you don't familiar with the games, and no worries, you don't need to like avoid spoilers by skipping this part. But like, as a heads up, this season of Devil May Cry 2 feels much more in line with the games generally, as someone who's been playing them since like 2005. However, as a quick heads up, they do like to remix scenes from the games. And like, that should be obvious with the promo material, because in this season we know that we have Mundus and Arius in this anime season, and we know that they're from Devil May Cry 1 and Devil May Cry 2. They don't ever meet in the games. And like, as a longtime fan of the games, especially the game's narrative, that was very enjoyable for me, because it was nice to not always know where a scene was going in the anime. Like, even in scenes where the outcome was the same as the video games, it was nice to just kind of get there in a different way. Or like, a scene was played out differently than in the games, but it conveyed the same meaning. It's like the anime was like constantly surprising me and then comforting me with something familiar. I do also want to give like a special shout out as well to Dante and Virgil's dynamic in this season. They really captured their petty sibling dynamic incredibly well. Again, not to spoil anything, but there were just like multiple scenes where I cheered a little bit at how they were interacting and how they were handling each other, and I thought that was great. Like, do I recommend this season to watch? If you are someone who's already decided you don't like season 2, you don't like the way they're going, probably not, because if you really dislike season 1, a lot of that's probably going to be in your mind as you're watching season 2. What I will say, if you like season 1, yeah, of course, you're probably already planning to watch season 2. If you watch season 1 and you kind of liked it, but you weren't really sure, like there were parts that you really didn't like or something along those lines, give it a go. I think you'll find a lot of the strengths in season 1 here present, but just more of it. And again, with just much tighter writing. If you didn't like season 1 at all, but like part of you still wants to like the show because it is Devil May Cry, yeah, give it a go too. You might find that you enjoy this season much more than the first.